Hello, good welcome to Xbox Tavern's Xpod Tavern special episode, where we're going to be discussing all about Wales Interactive and their wonderful FMV video games. Some great, some not so great, but we'll get into each one individually. But this week, well, for this special episode, I should say, I'm joined by special guest Pete. Hello, special guest Pete.
Hello, good evening to everyone. Hope you're going to enjoy tonight's show.
And super duper special guest, I should have come up with a name beforehand. AJ, how are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. Nice to be here.
Yes, it's wonderful to have a new voice and a new face on the Xbox Taverns video and audio feeds. Where it's always good to mix it up and get some fresh perspectives. And you're much like me and especially as Pete, big fans of Wales games. So we're going to go through and discuss our pros and cons on the various ones we've got notes for here. Before we get into specific games, though, I did want to ask both of you. In terms of like the live action FMV games, obviously they had a bit of a shitty reputation for like Night Trap and stuff on like the Sega CD and early PC games and that. But they sort of, especially with Wales, they sort of brought it back to being something that's a bit more respectable and a bit more enjoyable. And I wanted to ask, I'll start with you, AJ, if that's all right. What it is you enjoy about playing these sort of games?
Well, it's actually funny. I've got like a bit of a storied history with these because I was absolutely obsessed with a game called Sewer Shark on the Sega CD, which
Sewer
was
Shark. I recognise the name, but
yeah, it was a kind of weird kind of shooter where you were literally going through a sewer, but then there was loads of FMV sequences, and I used to go around to a friend's house purely to watch the FMV cutscenes with Mark Hamill in them from Wing Commander. I was like, this is the future. This is going to be amazing. And then about 20 years later, I had the good fortune to work on the ports of Mad Dog McCree on the Wii, which was a light gun shooter with full FMV round westerns. And we worked on both versions of that, and I was like, these should never have gone away. I mean, I was lying to myself a little bit. But yeah, when Wales Interactive started getting really into it, I think I was a bit sort of, that's the one. I was kind of a bit irony poisoned, and I was like, I've got to try this FMV thing out. There's no way it's going to be good. But I just find like the kind of earnestness with which, especially Wales Interactive, are approaching these and kind of taking them seriously with maybe a little bit of a wink at the same time. Incredibly charming, and I've been hooked pretty much since their second game, and always look forward to seeing what they're going to release.
Yeah, nice. I think, as you said, taking it seriously with a bit of a wink is probably like the perfect summation of how they approach these, because they've always got a bit of that sort of like, we know what you think, but we can prove you maybe a little bit wrong and give you something decent. I mean, looking at the state of the Sewer Shark footage, we've come a hell of a long way. Dear. Well, what about you, special guest Pete? What is it that you find draws you to these sort of games?
I mean, first exposure. I mean, we're going back to primary school. We had the old school Windows 95 PC, and I can't remember, but there was this game, and you would just type in your name and obviously give your character a name, and then it would give you kind of different scenarios. You know, you're being chased by a pack of bees. What do you do? You know, I can't remember any of the outcomes, but I was like, oh, I really like this. I want to go through and explore it. I never got the chance to play it because everyone else was hogging the PC. And then I've got the second thing I was going to say. But anyway, then obviously we got into the things like the Telltale games, where it was more kind of an interactive story. And then I think actually what got me properly back involved with the kind of the narrative story was when Ian reviewed Language of Love. And I know that's kind of a visual novel rather than like a narrative story, but I was like, oh, I forgot about these kind of things. And I think that's when I started to check out games like, you know, Late Shift and Complex and that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of a gap in between like starting and where we are now, but yeah, I absolutely love these kind of things. In terms of, they're kind of nice to kind of a break from kind of like if you're playing like FIFA or COD or anything. It's just, there's no button bash. It's just sit down, enjoy the story, and just press every now and then to pick what decision you want to do. And I think it's a really kind of underrated genre on on the kind of the market.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And like we were saying before we got started, AJ was mentioned like Ian Livingston and Fighting Fancy and stuff like that. I've always been drawn to these, just making the choices and be like, oh, I wonder what happens if. And I know obviously games have come a long way where, you know, you've got things like the recent Baldur's Gate 3 where you can do and think whatever you like and it will somehow accommodate you. Whereas what I enjoy about these is, like you said, you enjoy the story, you enjoy probably the cheesy acting and a couple of in jokes and winks and nods, and then you'd be like, oh, do I want to go left, or do I want to save a puppy, or do I want to do this or that, or do I, you know, and it sort of branches the story in interesting ways. And as we'll get into, they don't always nail it necessarily,
No.
but generally it's entertaining enough.
Yeah, Netflix got involved, didn't there? Was it Bandersnatch? Was it Bandersnatch? Is that what it was called? Yes, Netflix one.
There's a couple others on there as well.
I never actually got through all of it because it was really, really long. Yeah. But yeah, even Netflix tried to do it, and that was quite successful, wasn't it?
Do you know the story behind Bandersnatch? The name Bandersnatch. Okay, so Bandersnatch is based on a 1980s game that was basically pumped full of loads of money. It was, if you will, it was the Star Citizen of its time, and was never eventually released. It was a massive money sink and never actually came out. So I'm pretty sure the whole point of it being incredibly long and almost impossible to finish, and also the story of this one developer trying to finish a game and not being able to, is a reference to the original Bandersnatch, basically.
Sweet.
We're learning as we're going with this information. I think, yeah, because I think, like you said, it was long, but you could get through it relatively quickly if you chose like shitty options. But if you tried to do it properly, it could stretch out for a bit. But I enjoyed it when I played it for a couple of times. But I think, like I said, you had Bandersnatch, you've had a few other companies try and do some, which have been relatively decent. There was one called Dark Knights of Poe and Monroe. I don't know if any of you guys ever played that from the Vecchi Studios. That was weird. Yeah. And it was, like you said, AJ, about like the wink and nod. It wasn't nodded as like smacking you around the face and look how cheesy we are. Look. But I really enjoyed that game. It was funny and it had its own sort of quirks and charms, but it didn't quite hit the highs of some of the Wales Interactive stuff.
No, because it tried to be kind of serious, but also kind of campy and not taking itself serious at the same time.
It was very campy, and there was moments where they'd make choices and it would kind of, it wouldn't like segue smoothly into another scene. It would just be like, right, here's a hard cut, right now something completely different has happened because of what you picked. Whereas a lot of the games we're going to talk about sort of handle that transition, I think, a bit better. But yeah, so Wales Interactive, obviously that's the topic of the day. They've got a relatively long history of FMV games. We're not going to go through them all because we haven't played them all, and otherwise we'll be here all fucking day. So we're going to go through the ones that we enjoyed, the ones we played, and talk about them however long we feel like talking about them. So unless anyone else got anything else they want to mention before we get cracking, let's get cracking into the first game, shall we?
Let's go.
So the first one we've got on our list here, AJ, you set this up. Is this in release order? Is it?
This is in release order, yeah.
Nice. Okay. So the first one we've got here is The Bunker, which is one that I've not played, but it looks at, especially because Peter's not played either. So AJ, you're on your own for this one, I'm afraid. So
no problem.
Would you like to regale us of sort of the basic premise of The Bunker and then your opinions on said game?
For sure. So the basic premise of The Bunker, it's set in a sort of post-apocalyptic world where someone has exclusively grown up inside a bunker. There's some suspicions about maybe he's going slowly mad. There's a lot of kind of conspiracy theories going on inside of it. And it does get very, very good by the end. I really someone recommended it to me and I was very unconvinced at first because I was like, this is an FMV game. This is not going to be good. But they actually got some really solid performances from the main actor. I think the problem here is actually it hewed itself too closely, too faithfully to what FMV games used to be. So if anyone played some of the old ones, the one I'm thinking of the most clearly is there was an FMV game called The Ripper with Christopher Walken in the lead. And whenever you played parts of it, you had to select items and it would queue up a video of the main character walking to places. And The Bunker was like, we'll do that. And once you've watched the main character walk through a hallway to a door for like the 15th time with the exact same video, you're like, I really don't need to see that. So if you forget anything, you have to backtrack, watch the same video again. But if you, for anyone who can kind of tolerate some of that, or is more willing to kind of just look up a walkthrough so they don't miss any key puzzles, it's still pretty good. It has a really, really disturbing ending, which I don't want to spoil, but I think it's still good. It's still good. But they go on to bigger and better things, in my opinion.
Yeah, this one I think was part of Game Pass at some point, and I had it downloaded. I just never ever got around to playing it. I know Ian was a bit of a fan of this one, I think. But yeah, it just passed me and Special Guest Pete by. But I saw in the trailer that it said something about sort of horror elements. Is that?
Yes, but it's more key. It's more psychological. It gets a little bit gory in places because the main character gets injured. There's some like a lot of psychological weird twists and turns, but it's not straight up jump scares. It's more a creeping dread sort of sense to it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so that intrigues me much more than just the premise of yet another FMV game, like you said, that still sort of eschews to the early 90s sort of mindset of like, well, we have to have like, long scenes and no way to skip things and all this sort of nonsense. And yeah, maybe one day. But yeah, nice. So that's, like I said, that's the first one on our list, the bunker from Wales. Cool. Should we move on to late shift? Unless you've got anything else you'd like to add on the bunker, sir?
No, let's move on.
So the next one up we've got is late shift. Again, I feel like I know you two, sorry, have played this one. I've skipped over. I wasn't quite ready for the FMV majesty yet. I've fallen a little bit behind. So Special Guest Pete, since you sat on the last one, so do you want to kick this one off for us?
Yeah, so Late Shift was actually the first kind of Wales interactive game I played. I saw that kind of Ian had just 1000G'd, and I was like, what's this? Because, like, obviously you see the picture of the achievement. I was like, what kind of achievement is this? And you look into it, oh yeah, I can download it. And the funny thing is I didn't actually complete it for first time through. I kind of like played a little bit of it, put it down, and then actually completed the complex and went back to this because I enjoyed the complex so much. The thing I love about this is just, I mean, the buzzword at the moment for us, Jay, is escalation. And that's exactly what this is. You are basically a car park attendant that works during the night. And 1 minute you're sitting in your booth, the next minute you are literally part of some this heist that's going wrong, and the next thing you know, you're also in an auction bidding on like items for hundreds of thousands of pounds. And then you're chased off by the mob, and this is the one where I'm not sure about the bunker, but on this one there is so many different endings that you can kind of end up with, and it's just a really good time. This one, it's quite short as well, so I think it only takes about an hour, I think, maybe to get through one playthrough. So if you wanted to explore every single kind of ending, then you can.
So I'm just watching the trailer. I must admit, I thought I knew what this sort of game was, but watching this is completely different to what I expected. Adrian, what's your thoughts on the late shift?
Honestly, I'm in almost complete agreement with Pete on this one. It's the variety of choices you can make and how significantly they change. There's a moment, I'm going to key into one specific moment where at the auction, you can go to the police. You can basically try and quit out of following along with the mob, or you can go along with it, and it completely opens up different paths into what actually happens. Like the attention to like choices is really impressive in this game. I don't think they quite won me over with the pitch that you're playing a Guy Ritchie movie, because I don't quite think it's at that level. But yeah, I was genuinely surprised by how much the different choices you make mattered. And actually, again, tying into what we said about fighting fantasy, you can make some choices that really break your playthrough, where you run out of options on what to do. And I thought that was really neat. I will say there's one downside, and this is something that they then addressed in later games. You cannot skip that you have already seen. So there was some moments where I'm like, I really don't want to watch this opening monologue, which goes for 5 minutes again. I think I put it in I reviewed it for Game Critics at the time, and I was like, I love this game. I think it's super fun. I just want to be able to skip bits I've seen already and get to the other stuff. So I've only done 3 playthroughs of this game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's admirable to watch it 3 times through fully.
Well, the thing is, for me, I think I just set it going and went off and did something for an hour while the big cutscene played. I think that's what I did. I think there's a bit before you go to a museum or something, and it is literally like a 20-minute cutscene. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go off and do something and come back. But for me, I think one of the downsides of me in this is the main character. I don't know, it might happen in real life. I don't know. I've never experienced it myself, but he seemed to be. Obviously, I mentioned he was basically just a car park attendant, right? He seemed to fit into the whole gangster heist thing quite easily. I was like, well, he seems a bit comfortable here. That was the only thing, whereas, some kind of random guy who's all of a sudden a master heist person. That was the only thing that kind of dragged it down for me. Maybe it's just the guy's too good of a bloody actor, but that's the only kind of negative side for me, really.
I do think it is also worth highlighting. I don't know whether it was a choice of the performance or a choice of the writing, but the main character does, in one of the angles, end up in a Chinese restaurant where the guy that they talk to. I mean, I don't want to speak to this, but I felt secondhand embarrassment for kind of the portrayal of the Chinese restaurant owner, with them like not pronouncing their R's and L's in a way that I just felt like was unnecessary. That's the only other thing that I would say was a negative on that game.
Was it a little bit less sensitive perhaps than it should be?
Yeah, again, it felt like a choice that was made somewhere, and I'm wondering whether it was the actor themselves that made that choice or whether it was in the script.
It's like, well, I know what they're expecting of me, yes, so let me start. Yes, L's and R's, I can't say them.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
But yeah, a bit racial stereotypical, yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, obviously, it sounds like you both enjoyed it. I definitely, again, watching that trailer, listening to you two, I'm far more inclined to check it out, although I'm not so much inclined to sit and watch the same cutscenes over and over again. I do, one of the things we'll get to the other games in a minute that I do enjoy is be able to skip stuff you've already seen just to get to the other choices. I think if I had to sit through them all again, I might not have played through them quite so many times. But yeah, so you said there's multiple endings. You obviously saw 3 endings, AJ? Pete, how many did you get? Do you remember, or roughly?
I think I 1000G'd it, so I must have done all of them. Okay, obviously, it's been a few years, so I can't remember. I think it was during the pandemic I played this. I'm not 100% sure.
Fair enough. And do you both feel like the endings that you got sort of made sense? That there weren't any out of left field where you suddenly like, well, how the fuck did that happen?
No, they were really satisfying, honestly. They like I said, like the choices in this game do feel like they make a difference.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was one where I got an incredibly unsatisfying ending, but I was like, I can see exactly how I got to this point. Like, I know every choice that I made was real bad in retrospective.
So it was more your fault than anything else.
Oh yeah. It wasn't unsatisfying because the game was wrong. It was I made some real bad choices.
See, now I'm even more intrigued because I am terrible at making good choices in these games. Normally, the first time through, I'm like, "Why is everybody dead and the world's exploded? I don't understand."
Nice. April 2021. That's when I played it. There you go.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so a couple of years ago, and I mean, we've still got a fair few games on this list. They've been knocking them out at a pretty considerable rate, considering how much effort they must need to put into each one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if anyone else got anything else on the late shift, or should we move on to?
Just make sure you go and play it, Jay. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, no, I definitely. This is one of the ones, that and the bunker are 2 that I definitely would like to go and play. We're going to skip over a couple on the list here, mainly because none of us have played them. But next up is the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker and the Shape-Shifting Detective. AJ, you said you've got them, but you've not got round to playing them yet.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to play the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker is because I think this one's purely published by Wales Interactive, and it's actually by a different developer. And they're known for playing with the tropes of FMV, doing it in a really cheesy way, but really fun way. So I am actually really excited. I also read a couple of reviews around Shapeshifting Detective that just made it sound really interesting. And again, for me, it's Wales Interactive have become an interesting like seal of quality in a certain way. I know I'm gonna at least have some fun when I play it, so I will get round to it at some point, but not yet.
Yes, I'm in full agreement. Like I said, the ones we're missing, I definitely would like to go and check out at some point. And then maybe we could do a catch-up episode and talk about the ones we've skipped over and be like, oh, it was worth the wait. Or, my God, why do we bother? Why do we bother? But next up on the list is, again, one that only AJ has played, but I'm very interested in this one because I remember when it came out and it sort of it intrigued me enough to look at it and read reviews and be like, oh yeah. And then again, like everything else in life, I'll get to that one day. And then a million other games come out and I just completely got sidetracked. So there's a game called Simulacra. Is that how you pronounce that?
That is how you pronounce it, yeah.
So do you want to give us a quick rundown on your thoughts on this one then, AJ?
So the basic premise of the game is you find a phone and it is unlocked. But then when you open up, the first thing you see is a woman asking you for help. There's a whole bunch of corrupted files on her phone, and you're not really sure what's going on. So like the intent of what you're doing is to basically try and figure out where this woman is, trying to track down, what has happened to her. And what kind of makes this one stand apart is it is actually much more mechanical than a lot of the other games published by Wales Interactive. If you've ever seen the David Cho movie Searching, or the recent movie that came out last year, Missing, which is all about how we use technology to interact with things. So, for example, in Searching, it's about a father with a missing daughter. He essentially reverse engineers hacking into her Facebook account, and then basically kind of like figures out how to talk to people to get more information about what's going on. And Simulacra does a really good job of this. So you actually do feel like you hacking into her Tinder account, pretending to be her while talking to someone she went on a date with. You're kind of like maybe trying to figure out what her password is by looking at what her search history is. There's loads of like really, it's a little bit creepy, but like in a good way, where you feel like, oh man, like this is how technology works. This is how you would, you'd look through someone's history and then go, oh yeah, this links into this thing. But it's also lined up with some really, really intense jump scares. So if you've ever watched those videos where a kid is intently looking at a puzzle and then all of a sudden something jumps up onto screen and scares the crap out of them, Simulacra does that. You'll be in the middle of like, oh, I think I kind of, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh my God. And it's genius. It was originally supposed to be a mobile phone game. It works less effectively on an Xbox because of the way you have to use a controller with it. But I still strongly recommend it. It doesn't really have multiple. Well, I think it has a couple of multiple endings, but it is very much linear in contrast to some of the other games. But as a puzzle game, and the way in which it feels very intuitive is like, I really wish Simulacra 2 and 3 had come out to consoles, because I would have played the crap out of them, because this was really good. It was really smartly put together. Acting up and down in places. There's a couple of secondary actors who I'm pretty sure that it's like one of the developers that worked on the game. But the main performance from the main actress, I think Anna, she's really good. She's really, really good.
Oh, yeah. Look, so you watching the trailer again, listening to you, and sort of remembering why, like you said, being the phone game, I thought that was a really smart idea of interacting that way. Obviously, if I was to play it, probably would be on Xbox. But yeah, certainly, there's too many games. Why has it got to be so many fucking games? Just need time to play all of these things. But yeah, looks really good. Does this pique your interest, special guest Pete?
Definitely, 100%. All the Wales Interactive games do, like, they're all on my wish list to play at some point, But yeah, this one especially, because this one reminded me of I can't remember what it's called now, but it's probably rubbish bringing it up. But it's like an investigation game where you're logged into someone's PC and you've got to click on pictures to find out clues and then pick
Her
someone else.
Story.
That's the one. Her Story. That's what it just reminded me of. What you just obviously described that one as. So, but that one just seemed a bit like stabbing in the dark, whereas this one actually seems like there's a plan.
Yeah, no, it's the same sort of vibe of that. I think it's also that it's a small indie developer as well, and they're not from England. So it's really great that Wales Interactive gave them an opportunity and published them on some of the bigger consoles.
Yeah, nice. It looks intriguing. If you've not played it, get playing it. Oh, I need to play it. Fucking hell, I need to get on with it because it looks really interesting. I mean, spinning off that point before we get into the next one, they do tend to publish a lot of other games other than these sort of live action FMV stuff. Like Ian did a review for a game called Headspun, which is like a 2D puzzle game, I think. And they got like the Maid of Sker games. I don't know if you played any of them.
Yes.
The first one, I've got it again. It's installed. It's been installed for I don't know how many years. I've never even touched it. And then they got a new one coming up, which I don't think is out yet. Is it Maid of Sker Ritual? Which looks again sort of up my street. But
is the Maid of Sker Ritual the one where they tried to do some multiplayer, or am I missing?
I think it's a multiplayer version.
Yeah.
Some sort of horror game. But yeah, I mean, I'm all up for horror stuff. So again, need more time. If someone just wants to, like, I don't know, lend me a few million or something so I can retire and just chill out, and then I can play all these games.
I'm sorry, Jamie. I left the few other million in my other trousers.
Shit!
Sorry.
Fuck's sake! God damn it! I thought I was onto a winner there, but never mind. Maybe another day. But yeah, right. Let's move on to the next game then, if everyone's all right with that. Next one is the first one that I played on this list, and the one that sort of proper got me into the whole Wales Interactive sort of side of things and the FMV games again, because like I said, I'm old enough to remember when the games were utter shite and then just got laughed, like you said, like Mad Dog McCree. I know, different type of game, but I remember playing that after playing House of the Dead and thinking, what is this? This is no good at all. But yes, we're on to the Complex now, which is a fantastic game set in sort of like an alternate reality type thing with you're playing as a doctor. I've got my review up here, which I was just looking at for notes. On the front line, helping victims of a totalitarian dictatorship, easy for me to say, in a fictional country of Kindar. And basically, it kicks off with you in the tent trying to save a couple of people's lives. You fail one of them, obviously, and then it goes from there, and the whole sort of virus outbreak kicks off. And the whole gist of it, if I remember rightly, is you have to try and cure the world and cure the virus, and you might survive, you might not, who knows. Lots of different endings, but what I really enjoyed about this, apart from the sort of getting into the swing of things again with the FMV stuff, was I thought the story and the acting, although like you said again, a bit of a wink and a nod, it really did a good job of sort of like sucking us into the world and the different choices, and everything felt natural. It didn't feel like, are you going to be a good guy or a bad guy? Are you going to save this or kill this? It felt a bit more fluid and what's the right word? Maybe organic. I don't know if that's the right term. AJ, what's your thoughts on the Complex so far?
I loved the Complex. It's super smartly put together. It knows exactly what it is. Like, again, the wink and the nod for sure. I actually really like a lot of the secondary characters in this. Like, they actually hired in some really good talent to come in and perform. I think in the actual the trailer there, they show the older woman who I can't remember the name of, but she's a TV star that's done a lot of work, and she does a lot of the kind of dramatic heavy lifting for certain scenes, and she's like fantastic. Also hilariously, the guy who is the sort of ambiguous love interest stroke douchebag, he also has video game connections, as in he was in the Doom movie, the Dwayne Johnson Doom movie originally.
What a claim to fame, eh?
I know, right? But again, he's super fun. I really liked him. I found the lead actress, I think she really struggled, but it's because not to spoil too much, her story becomes way more ambiguous the further you get into the game. So she's having to do a ton of heavy lifting in terms of where she starts off and where she can potentially go. And so it makes some of the scenes I found a little bit more wooden, simply because she's clearly got a script with, not a beginning and an end. It's like, oh, where you start, there's like 8 or 9 different possible places that you could end up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, some of the cinematography in is it fantastic. I think I even emailed you and said, like, I need to know, how did they set up that underground scene where the Kindarian woman is infected? Like, it looks very convincing. It looks like the London Underground. Yeah, it's when I think they found their stride and started to understand what works in an FMV game and what doesn't.
Yeah, they really nailed, like you said, the visual presentation, which drew me in because it looked way better than, like, I mean, we saw that shitty video of Sewer Sharks earlier on. I still had the FMV picture of, like, 240p images of really cheesy, like, direct, like, I'm here to save the day kind of acting. Whereas it was just like watching a show. Just every now and then you get to make a choice. As you said, it ends up in some places where it does maybe not jump the shark quite so much, but maybe sort of give the shark a bit of a hug as it goes, over a slight speed bump. Because there was one end, and again, I won't spoil anything, but I remember it happened, and things went down. I was like, how the fuck did I get? I'm a fucking doctor that was saving people, and now I'm like blowing this fucking person away with a fucking shotgun or something. What the fuck is going on here? But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the interplay between the characters and like I said, the sort of more naturalistic way the scenes played out, even when it did go a bit fucking crazy. Especially because, Pete, you played this one.
I
Tell me
have.
your thoughts on this one.
I was just trying to find that woman's name because it just clicked to me. I think she was in Game of Thrones. I believe she was the aunt or the sister of the Starks. I may be wrong, but anyway. So
you talk and I'll have a look.
Was this the one where your journey could end really quickly? Obviously, after you did the initial kind of choosing. This one where you had to go back. You could choose to go back in an ambulance, but you just suddenly died because, like, the drones got you or something. Or am I thinking of that? Is that something else? May not have been this one.
Ending. But I did get one that was very abrupt, which I think is the one that Jamie's alluding to, where we get the main sort of gist of the thing, and you're like, there seems to be stakes, and then the main character almost literally just pulls out a gun, shoots some people, and then the game's like, oh, well, this is what this character actually was the whole time. And I'm like, oh.
But yeah, that's exactly what what the fuck? Did that come out of nowhere? It didn't ruin it so much, but yeah, it did throw me off a little bit.
But yeah, no, this was, like I said, this was the first one I actually probably completed from Wales Interactive, and yeah, it was bloody good. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's like so much that I actually went and tried to find all the other endings. Again, because you could skip the scenes you've already seen, which is obviously such a great thing. But yeah, no, this was, I think you guys have pretty much said it all. This kind of set the standard for what Wales Interactive wanted their kind of FMV games to be.
Yeah, and you were right about Michelle Milot was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
it had the IMDb listing is not very good here, but yeah, she was in that.
Yes, that's where I recognised her from.
It was just fucking excellent. I remember when it come into the Xbox Tavern for review, so yeah, I'll give it a go, and I've played it through, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. Again, mainly because I could skip the scenes. If I had to watch them all, I probably wouldn't have played through quite so many times. But yeah, I just loved how varied the things could go, even when they did go a bit crazy. And yeah, it was just really entertaining story and sort of premise, which, I mean, I like this sort of end of the world, apocalyptic almost sort of setup. So having something like this a bit more close to home as well, being, like you said, on top of like the London Underground and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's sort of a proper hit me in the like intrigue section of my brain. I was like, I shall pay attention to these games from now on. But yeah, no, really, really good game.
It's very funny that both of you came in on this one, because I think I was pretty much signed up at that point to be a Wells Interactive fan, and the complex like cemented that, because I think both Simulacra and like the way that Late Shift were, I was like, they just need to tweak a few things, and the complex felt like a response to that in a very meaningful way. It's like, actually, yeah, we're listening to the feedback that's coming in from people, and we're improving. So honestly, it's great that you started with this one, because this is, like I said before, it's like when they hit their stride, I feel like.
Yeah, it might have possibly been put off maybe with the others, but this one fucking nailed on head. I think I gave it a 9.3 on xboxtavern.com, so rated pretty highly. It's one of my games of the year that year, and yeah, really, really good. If you're listening to this or watching this, you're probably already a Wales Interactive fan. But if you're not, and for some reason you've made it this far, make sure the Complex is your first one as well, because you won't regret it. Definitely won't regret it. Nice. Anything else on the Complex then, AJ or Pete? Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
No? All good. All good. Yeah, so like I said, my review's up on xboxtavern.com. You can read that if you like. Quick plug for you. And we'll move on to the next one, which I know special guest Pete is going to have a lot to say about, but I'm going to start with AJ first. The next one we've got on the list is 5 Dates. Now, again, this one coming to the Tavern for review, and immediately I was interested, but one of the other guys, Ross on the site, had already asked me for it. So I was like, yep, no problem. You check this one out. I'll see what you think, because as much as I enjoyed the Complex, I wasn't convinced it was going to be an ongoing thing. They did one up. I'm sure the rest will be all right, I suppose. But AJ, this one was a bit different. But do you want to fill us in on the sort of setup and your opinions on 5 Dates?
Sure. So the premise of 5 Dates is we're in the middle of the pandemic. The main character goes on a dating site that supports essentially like Skype chats or Zoom chats. Showing my age by saying Skype chats there a little bit. But basically, it's then you run through a series of questions and conversations, and eventually decide which woman that the main character is going to end up going on the final date with. So they go on a series of dates, and then it breaks it down slowly but surely. Interspersed with that is the conversations with the main character, with his best friend, who is kind of being his virtual wingman, in that sense of just bigging him up, encouraging him, and all kinds of stuff. And honestly, I'm really ashamed, because I saw the premise and immediately did not want this came up for review, and I turned it down. I was like, this is not for me at all. And it was only thanks to a co-writer, a guy called CJ Salcedo, who works at Game Critics. He was like, this is actually genuinely great. And I think actually 5 Dates is probably one of the only ones where the performances are incredibly heartfelt. There's a lot of depth to each one of them, and actually there's very little winking going on in this one. Outside of the wingman, what's his name? Is
Callum?
Callum.
Yeah. Callum's amazing. He's the comic relief. But genuinely, like Vinny, who has to carry the whole game pretty much. If he was a bad performer, that game would suck, and he's great. There's a warmth to him. There's a sense of honesty. You can make some choices where he's not as honest, but he's genuinely fantastic. But what I really like is the stages of this game. Is that you have the initial date, and you might not really get a vibe for the person. So on my first go, I was talking to the overachiever lady who was the lawyer, and
Grace.
Was that Grace?
Yeah.
Grace, yeah.
Yeah, and she's kind of terrible, but by the end of the story, you start to realize that there's some deep insecurities in her. And it does feel a lot like, as someone who has used Tinder and has dated on Tinder, there is that initial series of not quite lies, but like
Like
Stretching the
half-truths,
truth.
perhaps.
Yeah, like maybe
A few white lies.
maybe bigging yourself up, but then as you get to know the person, a lot of that falls away. And 5 Dates emulates that like perfectly. And so I'm embarrassed that I didn't play this sooner. It took me a while to get to this game, and it was only because I was coerced into it.
But coerced you were, and all the better for it, because it was fucking fantastic. And what about you, Special Guest Pete? I know you probably got a bit to say, not as much as the next one, perhaps, but 5 Dates. Obviously, you were the one who convinced me to play this, I think.
Yeah, well, it just I can't remember how I come across it, but I was like, oh, it's an FMV game. Oh, it's Rails and Dragons. Oh, it's about £4. I was like, this sounds really good, and like I kind of trusted Wales and Dragons with this because I think that any other developer, sex sells, right? And I think it could have been really easy for them to have just asked any of these 5 people to just go, oh, would you mind just flashing a boob or something?
Bit of a
and I think
cleavage going on.
I think they're all done really well. They all kind of unwrap really well. I think Vinny and Callum just had kind of great chemistry throughout. Like you said, Callum was kind of the relief. Vinny was fantastic, and like you said, had his performance been even average, it would have just killed the whole vibe of the game. It was only I think Saffron where it was kind of that kind of cringe. It's always difficult to portray the mental. Yeah, it's always difficult to portray the mental health issues when she was having the anxiety attack, and I kind of felt a bit awkward playing it myself because I was like, oh god, is this what it? I've never experienced it. I've never had to deal with someone that's had that kind of attack, and I was like, is this what happens? Because I kind of almost felt like I was Vinny at that point, but it was the only kind of cringe moment. But like, my shameful moment is I left Shayna to last. I was like, oh, NHS, whatever, and I was like, oh my god, she's the best. Her and Paige just blew me away. Maya was kind of predictable, but played well. Paige was, I know we can't go too much spoilers here, but the end of when I was like, oh. And then she goes from being an influencer to how it ends. And I was like, wow, what a nice kind of ending to her kind of arc, is it like? And Shayna was just so good. Those two, I mean, all 5 are fantastic. And like I said, like Wales and Dragons done really well to take a dating game in and to have literally like no nudity. Even at the end when you get the good ending and you're in bed, obviously not in the same bed, but you're FaceTime on the bed. You're like that even that could have been an opportunity to go, right, let's just pretend we're in some kind of lingerie. But no, it was all very well done. And
tasteful.
That's the word I was looking at. It was very, very tasteful. And well done, Wales and Dragons from this one. It's very underrated. I think people won't choose it. Oh, I don't want a dating game on my Xbox, but like the way I looked at it is, it's more a puzzle game because you're trying to get to the end, right? You're trying to figure out each person's quirks to try and go, right, how do I get the good ending to this person? And you kind of you're changing Vinny's personality to match how to get to the good ending, as it were.
I agree with you a lot. Like it could have been very easy to make. I don't think it's just that it's tasteful. It's humanistic, as in they treat these people like actual human beings with internal monologues and lives. Because I mean, even if they had decided to add some titillation with the script that they provided, you would have been like, oh, these 2 really cool people or interesting people that I've met are now getting it on. The fact that they dodged around that, fine, but it could have been so easy to make it incredibly crass and cheesy. I will say though, Pete, if you don't mind me interjecting a little bit more, Jamie, the thing that I thought was really interesting is that you're right, it is kind of a puzzle game, and I'm still to this day, I'm like, is this a commentary on dating or is this a commentary on Vinny? Because you can straight up be to one lady go, oh yeah, I'm a vegetarian, and then in the next date you go on, you're like, oh, I'm always cooking up meat, and I'm like, all right, is this Vinny? Is Vinny a bit of a liar, or is this just this is modern dating for you? You roll with the punches.
Yeah, you're being caught out in your own story type thing.
Yeah.
But that's the
best
thing.
part-
You're Vinny.
sorry.
You can't say anything.
The best part actually also is I actually played this game with my partner at the time, and she's now my wife. But she
Because of 5 dates, or
Oh no. I mean, all kinds of other stuff, but she was fully invested in this game. She was like, "I'm into this. This is great," which is really cool. We also played with two other people, and we weren't sure how they were going to react, because we were like, "Oh, we're playing a dating game," and the other two people were like, "If the acting wasn't good, this would have sucked, but it's great."
Yeah, like you guys said, that they all nailed it at the park. Callum especially. He even just seeing his little face on the trailer, I can't hear what he's saying, but I can hear his voice and his tone, and it's like, "Go on, player, you good." I love. He was so good. He was so entertaining. I want to refer back to something you guys said a minute ago. I think Pete said that you weren't fond on Saffron so much as the others. Saffron was my Bayan spirit animal. I went for her, and when the panic attack come up, like I said earlier on, I'm terrible at these games, and I normally get everyone killed. I instantly chose the worst option possible. It's like, goodbye. I was like, oh. Well, if I was
you didn't run away,
did
you? You should have panic attack. Oh, I'm just going to run away.
Just like, all right, hang up, goodbye. So the only person I was actually trying to chase for the first time, I completely whiffed it, and it's a good thing I'm not in the dating scene, because I would be fucking terrible, absolutely dreadful. But yeah, no, I've really enjoyed this. Like I said, you convinced me to pick this one up, and we sort of played it at the same time as we were going through it. After we both picked up on sale, and all of them were awesome. Like I said, what's her name? Sorry, Shayna. She was a very close second favorite after Saffron, because she was funny and entertaining and surprising in sort of like the stuff she come out with. You won't you might expect like an NHS worker to be a bit more reserved, perhaps, because obviously their day job probably wears them out. But she was proper going for it, and I really enjoyed her interaction. The others I didn't enjoy quite so much in terms of trying to get the data. I think I did them all in the end just because obviously I wanted to go through and see the stories. But those two were the ones I really actually enjoyed sort of pursuing naturally, as it were, rather than just playing the game for the sake of playing the game. Really, really enjoyed that story. AJ, sorry, you can.
Oh no, I mean, I was going to also recount that it was locked down between the lawyer lady and the lady who liked to drink quite a bit, and we were in a voting situation because there was 4 of us, and I was gutted to be outvoted and have to go for the lawyer instead of the lady who likes to drink, because I was like, this lady is hilarious. I want to see what ridiculous stuff she's going to do next. Honestly.
Yeah, really, really, really entertaining story, and like you said at the start, AJ, surprising in its sort of appeal, because you think, oh, it's a bloody dating game. I'm not playing a dating game, and then I played it. I threw fucking at least 5 or 6 times. Like I said, all the different. I'm pretty sure I failed one of the dates at some point, and I think it was with Shayna the first time. I think I kind of whiffed it completely again. Other than trying to kill Saffron, I just was like, "Hello," and she's like, "No, don't like you." Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But they nailed it for a second time in a row after the complex, and then we had 5 dates, and then on to the next game. Which has anybody else played Ice or Black Clouds?
No, but I haven't got access to it, I think.
So this was to say it was a step back is a bit of perhaps a bit dramatic, but I definitely enjoyed this one, probably the least out of all of the ones I've played. It had a bit of inconsistencies in its tones and its story, and like we were saying with the complex, where everything sort of flowed naturally, no matter what you picked. Obviously it went a bit crazy, but everything sort of felt like it was one long scene rather than a load of scenes chopped together. Whereas this one, there were far too many instances. I remember, especially later on, where you'd be in one scene and all of a sudden you're in a completely different scene, despite the fact there was no sort of lead into where you were going or how you got there, or it made no sense for the character to be there. Again, I won't spoil too much, but you end up in sort of a house at a certain point, and first few playthroughs I ended up there because I made a choice to go with someone. Next time I made a choice completely differently. And then the next scene, just in the fucking house in the basement of his house anyway. I was like, how the fuck did I don't understand how we got from there to there. And the story itself was quite dark, but also again not sort of fully fleshed out in the way that made it sort of intriguing. It was more, here's something weird. What was that about? I don't know. Just forget about it. We're gonna move on to the next thing now. And it didn't really feel like there was any explanation or any real driving interest to be like, I really want to figure out what happened. It's just like, oh, that was odd. Let's move on. Okay, let's move on. Okay. And then like I said, it gets pretty dark later on. It was quite short, at least I think, so you can get through it relatively quickly. But I just sort of referencing my review I've got here at the moment.
Jamie, that's damning praise. It's short.
It's short,
it's very
yeah.
bad, but at least it's short.
I went through it a few times because, as we say, it's good to go through these games and try the different options. And again, as I'm just sort of remind myself as I look at my review, the general sense of the acting wasn't very good either. Again, it could have been the editing, like I said, that sort of chopped scenes together not very well, but it was very stilted and wooden as opposed to what we'd experienced, especially in 5 Dates, where everything felt more enjoyable and a more sort of naturalistic, as it were. But yeah, it come out after 5 Dates, obviously, but it was obviously made before the pandemic because we still had characters sort of interacting and stuff. But it just, it missed that spark that they'd had up until now. And I'd still recommend checking it out if you're interested in Wales games. Like we're all interested in them, but it's far from the best game they've produced in recent times. That's for sure. Has either of you got any sort of interest in checking it out? I know I haven't really sold it to you there, but have you got any interest in going along and seeing what this is all about?
I will eventually check it out, but funnily enough, I don't think I wrote for Xbox Tavern yet, but I think it was your review that made me go, no, I'm just going to leave this one for now. I read through your review. I actually really liked a lot of the stuff at the end as well that you put in there. It's just like, hey, heads up. This does deal with some heavy themes if you're struggling or anything. Like, I really appreciate that about your review. But I remember reading it and being like, this person likes the complex. If they like the complex and they think this is bad, then I've got no interest. I will eventually, if it's on sale, I will check it out. But it definitely, I was turned off at the idea of playing it.
Yeah, as you referenced, it definitely deals with some heavy stuff and sort of personal issues and demons and the sort of effect that can have on people. Which, is if you've got to be in the right headspace for it, I would say. But again, it's not the best sort of implementation of those sort of things as well, which I don't know if it makes it worse or not, to be honest. Especially because Pete, you got any interest in checking this one out at all?
Yes, but only because it's Wales Interactive. That's the sole reason.
That's fair enough. Which is exactly why I picked it up, and I was like,
I did also
be. Sorry, Pete. Also, they can't all be smash hits, can they?
No, not sure. I did actually also want to bring up, because we did mention like how things could be a little bit more crass or lewd. How not to do it. There's a game not published by Wales Interactive called She Sees Red, which looks like it's a Eastern European
that was
game.
Awful.
It was real bad, but there is proper like moments of just titillation in that game.
Yeah.
Purely for the sake of doing it. And the fact that like 5 Dates is like completely sidestepped it. Sorry to jump back to the previous conversation, but I was like desperately trying to remember the name of the game that I was like.
I was thinking, how can we get She Sees Red into it? Because it was just the acting was like the idea had potential, but like it was just the acting was so bad. I said to Jamie, I said, you got to play it because the acting's bad. That's you just sit there and laugh along, and then the ending was just like, what?
Yeah, let's not give this too much air.
No.
We're still with Wales Interactive, but it's true. I'm glad you've also played that game.
Did you end up playing that one, Jay?
No,
I
you,
don't think
you
you
did
did
try to
you?
get me to play it, and I did borrow your account for a little while, and I installed it again, much like everything else, and then I never got round to it because I knew it wasn't very good, so I just didn't bother playing it. It's on sale at the minute though. I think it's £2 on the Xbox store, so yeah, maybe
Probably worth about
maybe.
that, to be fair, just to see just to experience it.
To quote a glowing review right there, it's bad, but it's quite short.
Yeah.
Sounds like my sort of game. Nice. Nice. All right. Well, let's get back into the Wales interactive trainer, shall we? And we'll go on to the next game on the list, a game called Nightbook. AJ, I see you played this one as well. Would you like to do the honors while I get all the trailer up and stuff?
Absolutely. So the basic premise of Nightbook is there's a woman who is in the process of what we would call translating stroke localizing a bunch of text. Her father-in-law is potentially possessed by something. And most of the game itself is played out over Skype calls or security cameras showing off things that are happening inside the game. Then there's a number of different characters who can kind of end up being pulled into this kind of supernatural horror that's happening. If you get the right endings, it gets more clearly explained. But yeah, it's pretty creepy. It's a pretty creepy game. I think the performances are really solid in this one. I really liked how inventive they were with bringing up elements of like horror and things without having to have people in the same room. Because again, I think this is a COVID restriction thing. I really liked some of the interactions where you start to understand people who translate don't make enough money. So they have to do things like take on teaching jobs and like talk to a bunch of different people and kind of hustle to keep themselves able to like in work. That I just seen in the trailer there's your man from Resident Evil, the movie, the guy who gets cubed. He's in it. He's great for the short part that he has. It's great to see him there. Yeah, I really liked what they leaned to in this game, which is the idea of taking certain premises. There's things like the movie Hereditary has spends a lot of time obsessing over the main character's modeling, like how she loves to do like little mini models, and now how that builds out and how that affects the rest of the family and also her own psyche. And so I like that Nightbook did the same thing with like, hey, this woman is kind of hustling. She's hustling because, you know, she's pregnant. She has to get this translation done, but that also means she's taking on classes and doing all these other things. So there was like a very like, again, a human story to the sci-fi supernatural horror element to it. I will say that this one, like a lot of the conclusions, didn't hit for me in the way that I was hoping. Like I was kind of a little bit disappointed, but I still think it's worth a try, just because they went for something a little bit different. But yeah, it just I got a couple of the endings, and the endings feel like we've talked about Fighting Fantasy already a couple of times, but like in Fighting Fantasy, there are moments where you'll choose an option, you'll flip to the page, and it goes, "You're dead," and that's it. Yeah. And there's nothing to it. And Nightbook has a couple of endings that are real, like, please roll back and do everything again. And I don't like that as much in these styles of games.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right there. There was a few moments or a few endings, I should say, that I got where it kind of was just like, and dead. Oh, okay. Oh, shit hit the fan. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Start again. Okay. I did enjoy, like you said, like the premise, and as you said again, the way they worked around the restrictions, because this was like a height of the pandemic, and everybody's on, you know, what's the fucking, not landscape, the other one. Portrait. Thank you. I was like, this way. It's portrait. Everyone's on portrait sort of phone calls to each other, and the way her dad sort of progresses through his illness and in the room, and the option to lock him in or keep, let him out and translate the book, and some of the other characters that we see sort of repeats from not the characters, sorry, the actors are repeats from other Wales games, which is pretty cool. I like that when they sort of include that sort of details. But yeah, it was creepy. I'd like to see something a bit more. I mean, we'll get into this later on, but something like this with a bit more of the horror to it, which is why that bunker sort of caught my interest earlier on when we were watching the trailer. It was again way better than I saw Black Clouds. That's for damn sure. It was a step right back up from that one again. Not, I mean, the complex is still right up there, but yeah, it was something that was interesting in its setup, and I also quite liked the main character. Again, I should have looked up her name. Really, I quite enjoyed her story and her side of things. Her husband was a bit of a dick, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, he's awful.
I guess that's kind of the point, but yeah, I did enjoy telling him to fuck off a few times, I think. But yeah, enjoyable story, enjoyable premise, some relatively decent effects as well, considering again it was all filmed sort of locked down. You know, you had some of the creepy things in the background and some things moving on their own and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, an enjoyable game, but again, not necessarily the best work. But
I actually played it alongside two people. It's become a kind of a tradition almost now. When we get a new Wales Interactive game, we get a couple of other people to sit in the room with us and help make us decisions. And there were multiple squeals whilst playing the night book of like things going horribly wrong. So I was like, they got something right for sure.
Yeah, they as you said with, was it Simulacra where you got the jump scares. They pulled out a few of them if I remember rightly in this one, and some creepy visuals to boot. So, Pete, any interest in checking this one out? Again, I know it's Wales Interactive, but I'd highly recommend this one.
Yes.
Good. Right, next game then.
You guys said it really well. Yeah, definitely. It's one that another one that's just in my wish list, just waiting for it to kind of, get some funds to actually, buy these games just to kind of sit down and enjoy them,
Nice. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get your opinion on that some point in the very near future. But the next game on the list is one that I actually only recently checked out. I think I picked it up a few months back. But AJ, you reviewed it for XboxTavern.com, which you can go read on XboxTavern.com, a game called Bloodshaw. Would you like to do the honours for that one as well, please?
Absolutely. So the basic premise is that someone creates a reality TV show in which criminals kill each other on an island, and then whoever wins gets a bunch of money. But as they start to become more popular, influencers, conspiracy theorists, failed actors, whoever starts signing up for it. And so you're kind of getting into the point where the people who are playing in it are no longer hardened criminals and actually people looking to revitalize their careers and or increase their popularity. Then it ends up being, obviously, things go horribly wrong, and it goes from being like, well, not everyone was going to die to, oh no, we need the ratings. People have got to die. There's a bunch of really cool side ideas to this. I'm really annoyed that this trailer spoils like a very significant choice in the game.
I mean, I suppose you wouldn't know it if you hadn't played it, but yeah, watching that just then, I was like, I didn't realize that was.
But again, this is the reason this game works so well is it fully leans into camp in like a really beautiful way. Like, it knows exactly what it is, it knows the budget that it's got, and it's just having a ball the whole time. There is like at no point this game is not having fun with what it's doing. The lead actor does some really good work, especially as he has to basically have a romantic love interest potentially with a woman or a man. And so how he plays himself in the beginning of the game, he does a very good job of being incredibly ambiguous about where, everything works in that sort of scenario. But also, I felt very sorry for him. I felt like the fact that isn't he a child actor who is kind of trying to rekindle his career?
I think that was the gist of his backstory. Yeah, that's why he was there.
Yeah.
I think they'll give him some shit for it as well.
Well, understandably so. And I thought he did a really good job of adding, even though he's expected to kind of be ridiculous most of the time, I think he did a really good job of adding some warmth to his character. and genuinely feeling sorry for him. I think there's a couple of other good, really great. The conspiracy is an Irish conspiracy theorist. He's super fun. And the other guy who kind of doesn't give a crap about anything, he's great as like a supporting character. The only one I didn't quite gel with was the pick me kind of girl with the face paint one. She didn't kind of win me over all that much. But the rest of the cast.
Was that the one who had the choice between her and the man?
Yes, yeah, her.
Yeah.
She didn't sell me all that well. But yeah, no, it's if I was telling someone to play a Wales interactive game for the first time, I might, depending on their personality, I might go with Bloodshaw as the one to pick.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly to start with. The campness is just fucking off the scale here. It's like it's almost like a parody, isn't it, of like Battle Royale and stuff like that. So all these really vain arseholes basically just trying to gain some sort of fame. And I forget, you mentioned that they changed the rules while they're there, but was it you just had to survive like 3 days, whatever, wasn't it, to start with, and then they changed it to only one person can live? Is that right?
In the final one, actually, people could once they started including celebrities and influencers, people could tap out and just be like, I'm out.
It, yeah.
And then in the final version of this, they're like, actually, no, you can't tap out. You have to die.
Yeah. Because there was the sort of the vain social media girl who's like filming everything with it, and then she was like, "I'm just going to tap out when I'm done," and then all of a sudden they changed the rules. She's like, "Shit!" I don't know if she has to die, but I'm pretty sure she died relatively quickly afterwards in my one. I really enjoyed. I was trying to find his name while you were talking. The sort of guy who almost betrays your group. He goes to join the other side because he sort of gets captured. He was hilarious, and I wish I could have found his name. I was just trying to look it up, but. There's some really funny actors. The supporting cast is awesome. The choices, again, they feel, although it's a quick game, it's only like an hour to get through a playthrough, I think, isn't it?
It's 2 hours. The first playthrough will take you about 2 hours, yeah.
Okay. But it feels a lot quicker than that. And yeah, it's sort of instantly, as soon as I finished, I was like, I need to do it again. So I just started playing it again because I already had like the choices fresh in my mind of what I wanted to change and what I wanted to try differently. I've only played it through twice, I think. But yeah, really enjoyable, sort of campy, silly story where there's some good action in it, I think, as well, when they're sort of getting into their gunfight early on. And some of the other characters on sort of the bad guys' side, as it were, they're entertaining in sort of their camp bad guy. Like you got the big buff guy who doesn't talk, who just beats the shit out of everyone, and then the main guy who's a bit more like prim and proper until he gets a fucking good kicking later on, if I remember rightly. Did you? I mean, the trailer spoiled it. We might as well just spoil this one. Who did you go for, AJ? Did you go for Trish or
I've
Tish?
Done both.
Or,
I've done both.
Who did you
What's
prefer?
the canon choice though?
What my canon choice is actually, I think his name is Gaz. Is it?
Gav, I think, yeah.
Gav, he's my canon choice. I will say that kind of hints at some of the problems with this game is that it does, unlike say like Late Shift, some choices are like, oh, you picked that, but bad news, we're gonna twist the story so that this still happens. So you mentioned the influencer lady. There's a bit where you anticipate an ambush early on in the game, and you can make 2 choices. And basically, the 2 choices mean that the influencer lady has either been shot in the face or not been shot in the face and paralyzed with fear, but both end in her death. And I think that's probably the only weakness in Bloodshaw is some of the choices feel very transparently like cordoned off into, yeah, you made that choice, but you're kind of gonna get the same outcome.
I now you say that, I remember that actually. I think I had the one where she got shot in the face the first time, and I was like, oh, I'll try and save her, and then the next time she's dead anyway. All right, I mean, she was a dick, but still, I wanted to see if she could survive a little bit longer.
No, for sure.
So this was again, one of the later ones they've done. Highly recommend it. Again, some decent special effects, I think, or like production value, I should say, rather than special effects. But Pete, you've not played this one. Obviously, I imagine you're going to check it out at some point. Would you say you want to check this out first before some of the others, or are you going to?
I think this is my top of the list in terms of what I want to play, because obviously it's got Hunger Game vibes and obviously and the Condemned as well. If you like Steve Austin and Vinnie Jones films, you know.
What are you doing to me? You're not even going to mention Battle Royale, which inspired both of those. Oh
I didn't see that one, but the Condemned, obviously,
outrageous.
Being a Steve Austin mark during the yeah, being a big Steve Austin fan, I literally only checked out that film because it had Steve Austin in it, and the bonus was it had Vinnie Jones in it as well. And it was just a bloody good time, and this game just sounds like that, and so I'm very much looking forward to getting into it when I get a chance.
Strongly recommend you check out the early 2000s movie Battle Royale, which has some of the same camp but takes it into much darker places. So
it's way grimmer than Bloodshaw, but very, very good film. I've got it, Pete. I can lend it to you if you like.
Oh, excellent!
It's an awesome film. Bloodshaw, very good battle royale twist to the live sort of interactive FMV game genre. And again,
I also would like to do a little call out. There's a couple of things where the game intersperses interviews with the maker of the show, Bloodshaw, with this other guy who's trying to lambast him for why he's created this thing.
Yeah.
The guy who's lambasting him, his main claim to fame is that he was one of the X-Wing pilots in the first Star Wars New Hope who gets blown up in it. He has like 4 lines, but like it feels like he got into Bloodshaw and he's like, I'm going for it. I'm just, you know what? I only had 4 lines in Star Wars, but I'm gonna make this Bloodshaw, this role in Bloodshaw my own. He's super fun actually as well.
Role of a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those bits were pretty cool. How they sort of tried to fill in the backstory, and I also like the host guy. It was like a bit like Max Headroom from the early 90s, like way over the top, way. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe his head left his shoulders. Yeah.
But it feels like a direct nod to Battle Royale with the Japanese commentator who was doing all the kind of like weird idol girl commentary of people having their heads blown off and stuff. But I think he did it really well. So yeah,
it was entertaining. Again, way over the top like everything else in it, but yeah, just full on entertainment left, right, and center. Nice, cool. Right, let's move on to next game then. And the next one on the list is Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus, which is I feel like it's a bit of a spin on this genre. Like you were saying with some of the other ones where they're more like puzzle games. This felt more like that. So the premise is you've sort of joined a Zoom call or a Skype call or whatever else you want to use in this modern day and age for like a family game night. Obviously, again, still partly, I guess, due to the pandemic, everyone's sort of separated. And the character you play as is fond of their Uncle Marcus, but the rest of the family hates him. And he sort of calls you while you're on this game night and informs you that someone's trying to kill him. And it's one of the family members when they had their family meeting. And you have to try and deduce who did it by trying to ask questions without being blunt as to say, did you try and kill Uncle Marcus? And so the night is up into a couple of rounds. Each round you get to pick 1 or 2 family members to come with you, and while you're playing the game you can sort of ask them side questions about what happened at your meeting. Did you talk to Uncle Marcus? Did anything seem off? Did anyone act strangely? And you gather clues throughout the game, and then at the end you can try and accuse one of the family members of trying to kill him. Chances are you get it wrong the first 3 or 4 times because there's 6 family members. Is it 6 or 7? 6 family members in total thing, isn't it, apart from Uncle Marcus? I think it's 6.
1, 2, 3. I'm counting the actors right now. 4. I think it's 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, you can accuse them of trying to kill him. If you get it wrong, or if you don't have enough evidence to present before them, then the game ends and you start again, basically. And there's also the option to try and save Uncle Marcus. So if you manage to get enough clues, you can try and figure out what was used to poison him. And if you can figure that out, then you can try and figure out how to make a cure. And either way, it sort of spins off in lots of different directions based on who you accuse, whether you save him, blah, 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 blah. And I enjoyed this one because, like I said, it was different. It wasn't just a case of following the story and choosing options to see what would happen. It was trying to figure out who should I take into this game that I haven't spoken to already that I need to try and ask questions for? And depending on the round you take them in, you get different questions as well. So you could take the nan and the sister, for example, into the first round. But then if you take them into the second round, you'll get different questions because obviously you would have already got other information. And I don't think it's frustrating because I got right to the very end. I think I accused 5 out of 6 people, and then I did my review because it had taken me too long anyway. And then I intended on going back and doing the last person, and I never got round to it. And it's very annoying because I'm assuming there was some sort of twist. AJ, did you manage to complete the mystery at all?
I am one of those people who does not 100% most of these games. I like to do about 2 or 3 playthroughs and choose which one my favorite one is. So no, I've never quite figured out who it is that murdered Uncle Marcus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should go back and play some more of it. But I don't know if you're the same, but there's the same with like Telltale games. I will have like the playthrough that, I mean, Pete even asked me like, what's the canon choice? And I'm like, once I get my canon choice, I'm like, that's my story. I'm kind of done, and I don't want to ruin it too much.
I'm much the same. I like, especially with the Telltale stuff, which obviously is the whole other tangent which we could get into. But my main playthrough, and then if I do play any more, then that would just be to experience other options rather than be like, oh, I didn't like that, I'm going to do it again. So this again had some repeat actors. Saffron, my Bay and Spirit Animal from 5 Dates, was in it. And I think she was the first one I accused as well, because I was like, well, I need you killed you in the last game. I might as well see what happens if I accuse you here.
Georgia Small, I'm potentially related to her.
Whoa, hang on a minute. You didn't know this. This is revelations here.
Neither do I. I mean, her name's Georgia Small, so there's a potential that she's part of the Welsh family of Smalls.
Right, well, bring her in. Right, come on. Come and join the Wales Interactive chat. We can. I promise I picked you, and I didn't try and kill you. I promise. In 5 days.
I'll have to ask around and find out if it's true, because we Smalls talk.
Nice. I'll be sitting by my phone now. Is she coming out? Really, really enjoyed this game. Did you enjoy sort of the premise of like the game night and doing the different rounds and stuff as well?
I thought it was really well done. Again, like what you're talking about with the replayability and how it means that you won't be skipping. Like, I mean, the problem that a lot of these other games have, you make a choice and you're like, I've seen this one, I'm going to skip it, is actually, it feels very similar to a bunch of stuff like, if you've ever played Danganronpa.
I tried some Danganronpa. It's not sort of floated my boat, but
this is a way more accessible version of Danganronpa, with the idea of as you pick different people to kind of talk to and interact with, it will add layers to the story of the stuff that you already know. So as you jump back in time or do whatever that needs to be done, in fact, every conversation you have, you will always choose something different to give you a better understanding of what's going on. And I think who pressed mute on Uncle Marcus does a really good, like, bite-sized version of that. I want to also do a shout out for Gabrielle Glaister, who is the absolutely awful matriarch in the Zoom call. She's incredible. She's been around for like 40 years. I think one of the first things I remember from is like Blackadder Goes Forth. She's in that, but she's been in like every like sitcom you can imagine, from like Brookside to Emmerdale to, I think she's even in Coronation Street now and stuff. She is like a genuine fun time of like how much you love to hate her, because she is terrible. But no, I didn't exhaust all of the options. And so I think that's actually a really good indication of how well this is put together. But I think also a key thing here is like, this is another hardcore camp game. Like,
yeah.
There's a scene where Uncle Marcus is like, I'm about to die. Can you tell me how to make sure I don't die of being poisoned? And you have to make a couple of stabs at guesses as of components that can save him. And if you get them wrong, you get to watch your Uncle Marcus die on a Zoom call. Absolutely stunning. how bad that is. Also, not another return actor.
So I don't mean to interrupt, but it's just it's like it's perfectly framed, like right on his face. He's just laying perfectly on the bed. He's like, it's so cheesy but brilliant. Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
But also, we forgot to mention it's the main actor from the Complex, the male actor from Complex plays the like douchebag. I'm out there saving people. And one of the things is, I think what makes it great is, I think he's supposed to be sitting in the back of a truck, but it's so poorly done. There's also a part of me that's like, is this truck fake? Is this truck completely fake? Is he just in London sitting on a weird thing, pretending that he's saving people? Have we lost Pete?
No, I'm here.
Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, not to spoil things, AJ, but you might possibly be onto something there if you play some more and learn some more about him. Because the more you play, the more you learn about each of the characters. And if you saw the trailer there, you get like the sort of emo teen and the uptight auntie and stuff, and you learn a lot more about their backstory. But him in particular, it's you're not far off. I shall say that and leave it there, because
wonderful.
I was thinking the same when I was playing. I was like, these effects, they're not very good at all, are they? and then things are revealed which sort of allude to what you're just getting at. But yeah, really, really enjoyable story, and like I said, different premise to just following a story. It's playing the games and trying to figure out who you need to talk to, and the way you can carry clues over through games. So again, the way I accuse all those people, I had all the clues from the previous runs, so I knew not to bother talking to the nan or the mum. I could just go and focus on the other guys instead. And some cheesy acting aside, definitely one of the better options that they've put out there. I'm going to have to push back on you, Jamie. I don't think cheesy acting aside, I think cheesy acting is quintessential to the enjoyment of this game. Like, you need that cheesy acting. I can still, like you said, I can still picture Uncle Marcus on that death. It's so perfectly shot, and it's the way. Like, again, not to spoil too much, because we don't want to spoil too much, but as you're choosing the options of trying to give him the stuff to save him, he's sort of properly hamming up like, and then if you do manage to save him, instantly he's like grabbing his chest, like, you did it, kid, you did it.
And to think that this man was in the office before this. This is where he's in.
Oh, it's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So highly recommend that one. Just go, Pete. Again, obviously, I know you haven't played this one, but behind Bloodshaw, this is definitely the next one.
Yeah, it's two on my list behind Bloodshaw.
Jump in.
Queue to play.
And then we've got a couple more that are out at the minute. We'll get into Mia and the Dragon Princess real quick. Have either of you played this one?
Nope.
No. Okay, so this one, another one of my favourite ones. It's set in London, and the whole story is this dragon princess has sort of come from the past. It's got a bit of a fantastical element to it. You sort of see the history of it in an animated form, and then she pops up in London in a hospital gown where she's escaped from hospital or a mental ward or something. And she's running through London, and she ends up in this underground bar. And she's got like this wrist watch thing, just got like a compass as director, and it's directed her to this bar. The police are chasing her, and you can either choose to help her or you can choose to turn her over to the police. And like you were saying, AJ, with like Bloodshaw and stuff, no matter what you pick, you end up taking her in anyway. You can turn her over, and it doesn't end the game. She just disappears for a little while and then reappears in your bar. But it's full of, again, cheesy but awesome acting. Some tremendous one-liners, including MPV Graham's favourite, fannies are for fire escapes are for fannies. It's just I'll leave that out. I won't provide any context. Just understand that at some point you'll hear that uttered as a man throws a glass at another man's head, and it just escalates from trying to figure out who this girl is because she doesn't speak English, to what she's doing in this bar, to what these people are doing chasing her, to a completely different area, to like hidden under the bar, as it were, that's full of answers and death and more cheesy acting and some actual really awesome combat scenes, where again, I won't spoil too much, but one guy, she kicks him and he lands on his face, but he does, like someone does a scorpion when they fall on their face and their legs sort of flip over. He does like an extreme scorpion where it just somehow his head ends up like up his arse. It's brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. Yeah, really, really enjoyable. Lots and lots of British humour that I really appreciated. And again, a pretty short playthrough, so I got through it a good few times to see different options and stuff. And there's a couple of points where the story really can diverge. So, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but one point you get to choose basically left or right, but it leads in the sort of outcome in completely different areas of the sort of area of London and stuff like that. Yeah, really, really enjoyable game. Cheesy as fuck, like I said. But yeah, fucking awesome. AJ, obviously you've not played this one. Have you seen much about it? Has this sort of piqued your interest at all?
I've got it downloaded. So it's on my list of ones to play. I will get onto it as soon as possible. Honestly, again, at this stage of where I am with Wales Interactive, when they release a new game, I pretty much just buy it and it gets put on the hard drive, and I'm just trying to figure out when I can invite the right friends around for us all to sit around and kind of play it as a co-op experience.
I think this one would be a good co-op experience as well, because like I said, the options you've got in front of you provide a lot of laughs, and yeah, it diverges in quite significant ways where you probably have a few arguments, I imagine, unless you were all on the same page. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. Really, really, really good. So my reviews up on xboxtavern.com. You could check that out. Especially because Pete, have you checked this one out at all? Watched the trailer or stuff? I didn't even play this.
To be honest, it was quite low on my list, but now you've pretty much sold it, so I'm definitely going to check this one out.
Nice. Well, I highly recommend it, and you can, like I said, you can go check it out on xboxtavern.com. Last one we got, which I'm going to let Special Guest Pete kick off, because I know he has got a particular fondness for this one while I press all the buttons. 10 dates.
Bash. That's what I need to say.
That's it, right? That's enough for us. Thank you very much.
He's the worst.
No, he is the best. I think we got quite lucky at 10 dates, because it actually came out quite soon after we had actually played 5 dates. So the 5 dates kind of premise was still kind of fresh in our heads. And I actually got the chance to review this one. And even though I don't think kind of the main characters, Ryan and Misha, had the same kind of chemistry as, Vinny and Cullen, it was still very well done. Characters like Azalea was really good. Like I said, Bash was just hilarious. I honestly was increasing laughing for like 5 minutes because I failed at the first date with him. Like, you're talking, he goes, right, bye. And I'm like, he just literally sitting at the table, and I'm just like, I was not expecting that. It's hilarious. And again, just like 5 dates, it's that big puzzle game. But this time you've got 10 people to try and, find the good endings with. Some characters are a bit, what's going on. Like, you really have to kind of like twist the person's arm. I can't remember the biker dude. I can't remember his name.
He was also awful.
Yeah. I can't see him on here, but he was not my favorite. I was just like, flat. You kind of really feel Misha really is kind of like bending her morals to kind of just have a good time with this guy. There was also, you got, I think, Kathleen, the kind of the posh American Canadian one, who again you kind of really had to go, oh yeah, I'm really into books. Yeah, I like this, I like that. And then of course in this one they actually fully explore same gender relationships as well. So obviously if you're with Ryan, you can obviously try and have a relationship with Derek, and obviously if you're Misha, you can try and I can't remember the other person's name. Is it Hazel? I think. So it kind of opens up more diverse kind of like chapters, if you like. And I think like I said, it's not as. I think it might be. I don't know if it's just Ryan and Misha, but it is just slightly better than 5 dates, I think. But it's like I said, the Bash. Like I loved him when he just walked off, and I had to do him again because I wanted to get to see his ending. And then you get to the second part of his story, and I was like, the heartstrings come out, and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, Bash. Why did I judge you? Which is what these games do. All of a sudden, 1 minute you're sitting there going, what is this guy? And next minute you're like, Oh, you just kind of want to adopt him like a little puppy. Yeah, I'm probably waffling a bit now, so I'll let you guys kind of tell me what you guys think of this.
Oh, not at all, not at all. I love to hear people harp on this game because it's, yeah. I mean, I pretty much agree with most of what you said. I will say that 10 Dates plays differently when you're in a room with 3 other women and you meet Bash and and the motorcycle guy and everything. Because what happened was, I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of women, most of them in their 30s, who've been through the dating scene for some time. And so Bash and the motorcycle guy and they were like, absolutely not. This man is going nowhere at all, very, very fast. And so it was very funny to just watch a bunch of guys throw up a bunch of red flags in like horrific fashion, and just essentially a room of women being like, this person is garbage and we are not having him anywhere near us. So we ended up with the probably the most boring of the choices, I think, for Vanish, who's the teacher who's a little bit religious and judgmental.
Oh yeah, that guy, yeah.
But with a kind of good heart, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other side, when the dating thing, it was actually way harder. For the what's his name? Ryan? Is it Ryan?
Yeah.
Ryan's the main guy.
Yeah. Ryan's dating choices were much harder in a room with women, because they were like, all these women are super fun in weird and interesting ways. But again, Azalea was the favorite, of course. Because she's a hilarious weirdo who brings her own goblet to a speed dating scene, which she was fantastic, genuinely. But they were all interesting, and I agree. Yeah. I almost want to go back and replay and unravel the Bash storyline now that you've kind of sparked that interest.
Did you not go on a second date with him?
No,
you've got to do it. You've got to do it, honestly. Like, it's just that's I can't speak highly enough of that, of Bash. Like, he's a proper lad, and then you're like, by the end of episode 2, you're like, I just want to adopt this guy and take him home and look after him.
Right.
I
think,
think,
like you were saying, AJ, you like to play in a group of people, especially because Peter made us all play it one night when we were all up watching wrestling, and he was like, "We've got to play with Bash."
Oh yes,
Bash's story,
about
and
that.
we're all sitting there, we're playing. I mean, there's 4 guys to start with, not women. We were sitting there, and we did some, and then I think we all decided collectively that it was time to go back to the wrestling.
Well, the funny thing is, Ian was like, "I don't get Bash," and the next day he's like, "Peter, fucking love Bash," because he does come across like a proper lad, one of those guys. But you've got to go back, AJ. You've got to get to the end of him, even at the end of the second one. But,
all right, I'll definitely go back then at some point.
And then I think was it
some chance.
Yeah, I think Brandy, she kind of had the same vibes as kind of Maya up until that. I don't know if you got to see the Maya, but she had the same vibes of Maya up until the last bit where there's a bit of a plot twist. Because all these characters, every single one has a plot twist at the end, so you can see a plot twist coming. It's just guessing what the plot is, what the plot twist is going to be, and I think they're all done like really well.
The soccer lady,
yes.
I really appreciated what was going on with her story.
Yes.
I thought she was really well. The idea of generational pressure, of the idea that I'm not sure like how much she really enjoys playing soccer and how much she's mainly doing it to please her dad. And I thought that was really well put together. Again, we talked about it a little bit with 5 Dates, where it could have been lewd and kind of a bit gross, but instead they've gone for very humanist, very like down to earth portrayals. I mean, the way you're preaching about Bash, of like, hey, look, no, he's terrible, but you'll love him once you get to know him a little bit, I think is a really good testament to the writing in this game, and like kind of understanding like how people change as well, how they like people's guard breaks down as they get to know people, and kind of doing it obviously on like maybe maybe on a escalated scale, sometimes it takes like 7, 8, 9 dates before it happens. But this is a video game, you know.
Yeah.
We want to min max as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So who? I mean, Azalea's super fun, but who was your favorite? Who do you?
Bash.
Apart from Bash, obviously.
Let's go through them. Derek was kind of good because it obviously got into substance abuse, didn't it?
Yeah.
Zalia was good. Brandy was okay. Tony was good. Hazel was okay. I didn't really click with her, but
I liked her first. I liked the
Yeah.
opening sequence when you meet
yes,
Hazel.
yeah.
And it was there felt like there was a really good connection between the two characters.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that was a really well put together in the sense that there felt like there was a connection between the two characters. And you go on the second
Yeah.
date and you're like, oh, maybe this was just the vibe of the time because you feel like a miss. And I thought that was a really good way of doing that.
Hey, did you see the third date? Did you see the third date?
I did not see the third date.
It's weird because it goes in a really weird, not a weird direction, but it's kind of like, Jay, did you do Hazel? You got to the end of Hazel, didn't you? The kind of with Misha, where the same sex one, where it's the choice at the end, where it's kind of like you're trying to give her friend advice and stuff, and you're like, it's kind of weird, and then like you get judged on the answers you give, and it's like, well,
yeah. I don't remember it turning out very well for me, but yeah, I definitely got to the end with Hazel.
No, but
I was quite
Bash,
digging it until the end.
Yeah, Bash was the best on the male side, and I think Brandy, because again, Brandy was kind of like a curveball at the end, which made me actually appreciate her a bit more. I just thought she was some kind of like, excuse my French, I thought she was just some kind of snobbish bitch, a bit like a lawyer from 5 Dates. But then you get the plot twist, you're like, oh, actually, do you know what? Fair enough. You know, you kind of understand why she's kind of like that. What about yourself, AJ? Was it Tony? Did you say yours was like favorite maybe?
Tony was what was interesting again, because the way in which we're playing it is like, which of these, you know, the group of people I'm playing with, they were like, which of these would we actually date? And he was the one who did not give off the red flags.
Yeah.
But there were definitely a couple of moments where his responses, the entire room were like, like that's not quite right. And then they were like, well, let's go through it. But Azalea was obviously like easy favorite, because she just does not give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's super fun.
I was gonna say, shout out to Lucas as well, the kind of like the shy millionaire.
He
was, a lot of his conversations were very awkward, but it was like you could see him kind of slowly coming out of his shell, kind of thing.
He was my first go through with Misha, and I was like, he seems a bit shy, but yeah, let's give it a go. And by the end, I was like, I made the right fucking choice, didn't I?
So please let me spend my millions on you, please. Oh, you.
He's definitely on the spectrum. And it's performed very well in that sense.
It is, yeah. I think we have to give like 5 dates, 10 days. I think we have to give all the actors like a lot of credit. I think they've all done really well, and I think we've said obviously these are actually in-person dates rather than Skyped as well. So
yeah, in 10 dates, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think my favorite, like I said, was Lucas. I did enjoy Azalea as well, and I was just looking at the list of names here. I think,
excuse me,
was it? Oh, Derek. Sorry, you said, didn't you? The guy,
yes, that was the substance abuse guy. Yeah,
that Ryan could go out with, the sort of the host of the evening of the date, the speed dating type thing. I fucked that completely, absolutely whiffed it. I thought, because again, like I said, it's good that they include sort of same sex stuff and that. I thought I'll give it a try. I did Misha's. I'll do Ryan's as well. And I was playing for it, and he's a nice guy, but I forget he asked me a specific question, and I thought it'd be funny if I answered whatever it was, and instantly he was like, "Why would you say that to me?" Like, no, it was a joke.
I think I remember that, but I can't remember what it was.
And then from there, it just went fucking downhill. I absolutely whiffed it completely. I don't even think I got the third date. I think I didn't even, fucked it on the second one. But yeah, really, really good acting, like you said. I did enjoy Misha more than Ryan. I don't know if it was just her or if it was just the characters she had to interact with or stuff. But Yeah, really, really good game overall. And I believe that sort of brings us up to the last of the current releases, I should say. Anyone else got anything else on 10 dates they'd like to sort of regale us with before we move on?
I think we.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry, Pete,
I'll
go.
say I think we need to get a commitment from AJ that he's actually going to go play Flue Bash.
All right,
Get to the end.
I'm committed to it.
Okay.
I will say that I think you're right in terms of performances of the two main characters, but because the woman Niche, is it Niche? Misha.
Misha.
The thing with Misha was that I think the three women were like, this is giving us certain level of PTSD with all of the male dates. All of them were like, Ryan is just an all-round much nicer person to be around, and most of the people that he's talking to are nicer. It kind of biased me a little bit to his performance. It did also feel a little bit like women can be super engaging and fun, and men will still be garbage in a date situation.
Yeah.
Whereas as long as a guy engages in like the minimal level of interest in whatever the person he's talking to, he's going to get way further. I don't know whether that was what 10 Dates was trying to talk about, but it was very interesting because there could be moments where Misha could be like, oh, that's interesting. And the guy she's talking to would shut her down in like horrific ways.
Yeah, and she definitely had some worse fucking dates, that's for sure, including Ash. No, I'm joking, Pete. I'm joking. I'm sorry. But yes, that's the most recent game from them. We've got a few coming up. In fact, one in I think 3 weeks' time. A game called the Isle Tide Hotel. There's a demo out on the Xbox store right now, which you can check out. Which I did. Did you guys get a chance to play it at all?
I'm sorry, Jamie, I didn't.
I loaded it up, but then didn't have enough time. So
that's fair enough. It's a very short demo. It's only about 20 minutes or so. And the sort of premise is, I think the guy you're playing as is going to this hotel to find his daughter, who sort of, it seems to be anyway, coerced into going here with, almost been like groomed to sort of come join this cult type thing. And it's all very weird. All the characters in it are very odd. It's very it had a weird vibe to it. Like, obviously nothing is quite what it seems, but just as it started getting going, obviously the demo ended. I was like, oh man, I've got to do this again at some point.
So have you got a review code for it, Jay, so you can play it through in its entirety?
Well, even if I had, I wouldn't be able to tell you now, would I, Special Guest Pete?
That is very true.
Let's just leave it at that, shall we?
Hashtag embargo.
Probably embargo, who knows?
The way you said that, Jamie, Special Guest Pete, that sounded almost derogatory, like you were just like, look, putting you in your place, Pete, Special Guest Pete.
I mean, I've got to do it on a daily basis. I might as well do it while we're here, chatting about Wales Interactive Games.
God, if I showed you our WhatsApp messages, mate, Jesus Christ.
But yes, it seems like an interesting premise. I'm definitely going to check out the full release when it comes out. Like I said, I think it's the 17th of September, something like that. But you can go check out the demo. And another demo, which I haven't had a chance to try yet, but I think AJ has, which come out about 5,000 years ago, and they haven't actually seemed to have released the game. But Death Trap Dungeon. AJ, fill us in.
Okay, so Death Trap Dungeon is based on an old. This is like the 5th time. I feel like we need money from Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson for this, but it's based on an old fighting fantasy book from the 80s, which is like deeply influential to me. Like, I was obsessed with fighting fantasy as a kid. So the basic premise is you go into a dungeon, you're trying to get through it. There's a bunch of other competitors that are doing the same thing. The decisions you make will influence and impact the other characters that are in there as well. But in the demo, they show off some truly, truly awful special effects in like the way that I want it. So if anyone was an 80s kid, they'll probably remember Nightmare, which was that game show with the kid puts the helmet on, can't see anything, and there's some really terrible 3D effects. Well, Death Trap Dungeon is like a couple of steps up from that, but like it knows it. Do you know what I mean? And everyone is kind of leaning into that kind of stuff, and so it just feels good to play. There is a thing in the demo which is something that infuriated me as a child, because there's a question about, like, they say like this person has this armor and the armor is X% bigger than they are, so how much do they weigh? And that's like, it's one
Maths.
of those, well, it's one of those maths, but also it's a math question to this day that I think that the correct answer is the wrong answer. And it's infuriating. Like, it's sealed in my brain as being like, this is the wrong answer. And so when they showed it up as like, oh well, they've read the book then, because I hated this. It's got a pretty good actress as the main character. I actually have a lot of hope. I think there's a potential that the reason it's been delayed so much is actually Death Trap Dungeon had a lot of different potential endings and bifurcations. Like, there's a character you end up playing alongside in the book, who I have a massive soft spot. He appears in the demo, but he can die very quickly in the book. So I have a feeling the reason this is taking a while is that there's a lot of scenes to shoot. But yeah, no, honestly, it's another really good camp classic, really good potential camp classic. I'm really excited to see what they do with it, because yeah, I loved Death Trap Dungeon as a kid, so I can't wait.
Nice. I, as we said before we started, I remember reading several of them sort of books when I was a kid. I cannot for the life of me remember the names of which. I'm hoping the one that I was really into was still my parents' house when I eventually get to go through their collection of stuff that they've got from us when we were a kid. But it was, I think I went through that book, I don't know, dozens of times, just like writing everything in pencil and rubbing it all out and going through again and sort of like, yeah, turn the page, keep your hand on it. No, I don't want that one. No.
Yeah, and back. Yeah.
Yeah, I've downloaded this demo. I'd really like to check it out. I just didn't have a chance before today, but I will play it over the weekend and report on Xbox Tavern's Xbox Tavern, which we record every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Ish.
Thank you very much.
He wasn't ready, was he?
He wasn't ready, but we'll let him off. It's fine. So we've got that hopefully to look forward to in the near future. We've got the Old Toad Hotel, and if they keep up this release cadence, then we'll have, I'm sure, many more games coming out over the next year or two to enjoy. And speaking of which, AJ, I'm going to go to you first because why not? Is there any sort of genre or story or premise or anything you'd like to see from a future Wales interactive game?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna cash in my checks now with Ian Livingston and Steve Jackson for sure. Because
we should have got him on here as well. He could have just sat there and just written him out in real time. Yeah.
Honestly, Ian Livingston, I mean, what can he be doing now? He sold IDOS. He's a proper millionaire now, so I'm sure he's got nothing else to do other than be on our podcast.
He's the one who can finance our retirement, so we can just sit around and play video games all day.
Yeah.
See,
he definitely has another pair of trousers with £1 million in it for sure. I'm pretty sure of it. No, I mean, if I was going to talk about, like, we talking about like ones to tackle, close to my heart, there was one of the fighting fantasy books was called Freeway Fighter. And it was based around like a Mad Max theme. You were trying to drive from one end of a state to another, and you had to manage your petrol. You had to make a bunch of choices. You had special abilities, like you could drop down spikes and other stuff. But you were Mad Max, and I think it would lend itself super well to like this format, because you could do a cheesy, gritty version of Mad Max in a really fun way. And also because most of the Mad Max games, no disrespect to the one that came out on the Xbox One, were missing the point of what is interesting about Mad Max, which is making a bunch of really bad choices and seeing everything going horribly wrong. And they were like, no, car combat is cool. And it's like, no, it's...
open worlds. Objectives.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would really love to see like Wales Interactive tackle something like that. It would be a fun time. Nice. If anyone is curious, there is a Steam version of the fighting fantasy game Freeway Fighter, which basically works how you would imagine, where you're flipping pages and doing the combat in that. But I want more because I'm greedy.
Why not? We need more, damn it. As I keep saying, there's not enough games to play, so we need more games to play. Especially because, Pete, what about yourself? What would you like to see Wales Interactive?
I'd quite like to see. I know we had the kind of the survival game, the Hunger Games style, but I'd quite like to see one on like a game show, like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style, or like a Family Feud. And you could just like, the idea could just be out of anywhere. Like, the guy has gone on this show because maybe the presenter has done something to his family, where it was abuse or whatever. Maybe you're just there to try and win the money to take your family on a holiday or clear your debts. I think it could be quite an interesting kind of subject, but with lots of possible kind of branches, which is what you want from these games. I just thought, I'm surprised there isn't one already, to be honest. But yeah, I'd quite like to see that, basically, if that one makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, they're both interesting options. Like I said, the point of the Wales games is to give you the scope to start off, here and end up here somewhere, with all sorts of different options and outcomes.
Exactly. I mean, you could go to the game show to you're set on putting harm on this person, but it turns out maybe his story, the story you were told isn't actually adding up to what his events were, kind of thing. So again, it could go in any direction.
Sounds to me like you want a Mallrats game by Wales Interactive, where they're trying to get on the game show to win the girl, but everything just goes wrong everywhere else all around them.
Combined with Slumdog Millionaire a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would definitely play that.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Wales, Ian Livingston's got us some money. He's going to lend us some if we can fund the game. And for myself, I mentioned it already earlier on, but I would like to see more of a survival horror style thing. I think like something I've written down here, Until Dawn, but dead. Fucking what's it called? That George Romero film. Why my brain has gone blank. But
George
zombies
Romero's
in a mall.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. Thank you. Sorry, I've said till Dawn, Dead till that's fucking video game. Yeah, something that way, trying to survive the night, and obviously your choices impact not just one person, but a group as a whole, and you're trying to get out, and there's way more gore and violence and stuff going on. Yeah, I think that could be quite interesting, because one of the questions we had actually from Lady's Favourite Daniel was, how do these games compare to things like the supermassive games like Dark Pictures and Until Dawn? And I think what I prefer about the Wales games is it's literally just choice based, but the way they've sort of developed most of them, at least, you've got, it almost feels like more branching options, whereas the supermassive games, they give you plenty of options, but they also focus more on sort of interactive gameplay, if that makes sense, which is good. I still really enjoy that sort of stuff, but that's a sort of almost like a whole different sort of ballpark.
It is.
Well, that's actually one of the shortcomings of, say, for example, the most recent game, The Quarry. Is I actually played that in an online multiplayer thing where we were making decisions about what would happen in each part of the game. Yeah. But there are also extended periods where only one person has control of who's moving through the world. So there's, say, 6 people playing, and actually there's one person controlling it. And I think Wales Interactive could definitely look at what was the game with the not quite stop motion, but animated picture game that came out As Dusk Falls, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. The shell-shaded one, yeah.
I definitely think that Wales Interactive has an opportunity to maybe look into that tech and have, people voting on choices and building out a survival horror game a bit like that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention The Quarry, actually, because I actually sat through, obviously we quite enjoy playing the Dark game, Dark Pictures, through together. And we were quite surprised that when the multiplayer did come out for The Quarry, it was like, well, Jamie has to play it, but I'm just sitting there. Obviously, you're not playing; you're just making decisions. So I just thought, I'm not going to screw Jamie up. I'm just going to try and go with what he does, just to kind of get his Callan story out there. Because obviously the Quarry was a bit of a longer game than usual, wasn't it, in terms of that?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, it's probably not fair to try and make Jamie play another 10 hours of this. As good as it is, I think one playthrough is enough.
I think I probably would have been more inclined to play through it more than once if it wasn't for all the in-between bits where you're walking around trying to get from A to B. And if it had just been the cutscenes or the story scenes, I should say, like in a Wales game, I probably would have been more happy to play through it a couple of times, even if it was just one of us making sort of the bulk of the choices and stuff.
Shout outs to a friend of mine, Matthew Hurry, who spent a whole bunch of the Quarry staring at the ceiling for every single time that he had to walk through any area. So not really pulling in the atmosphere of the Quarry, lots of looking at wood ceilings and cat cave ceilings. So yes, they need to remove that for the multiplayer.
Is that because he was scared or because he's not very good with a controller?
I mean, take your pick, honestly. God bless him. I've been friends with him since I was 17 years old, but I'm never really sure whether he's trolling me or just being just the worst.
See, and I was getting some abuse for some of my camera movements, but at least I was trying to watch what was going on. Yeah, those sort of games are really good. And I really enjoy the Supermassive games. Again, we could probably do a whole another 2 hours on them on their own. But yeah, the as I said at the start, what I enjoy about Wales is you just follow the story. Apart from again something like Hubris, Mute, and Uncle Marcus, but you just enjoy the ride. You don't have to worry about have I got enough skill? Have I got enough action points? Or can I do this quick time event quick enough? No, just what way do I want to go and where do I want the story to progress? So we want some survival horror, some more Ian Livingston money, please, and game show one, which would be pretty cool. Cool. Well, gentlemen, I mean, like I said, we've been going about 2 hours now. Has anybody got anything else they'd like to mention before we wrap this show up?
Is it worth us going through our recommends?
We can go for our recommends.
Well, Jamie, do you want to go first as the host, or do you want to go last?
I'll go first quickly, get out of the way. So obviously, first recommend, if you haven't played any of these games whatsoever, Complex, then I would probably go Bloodshaw and Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus and work your way through them from there. I think the Complex, as AJ said when we got to it earlier on, was my first game, and it was the perfect one to come into because it was such a fucking high quality version interpretation of that sort of genre. And yeah, it can only go up from there. What about yourself, AJ?
I mean, I'm going to agree with you on the Complex for sure, because it feels like it's the first moment where they were like, we know what we're doing. 5 Dates is, again, just it's going to make you rethink performances in FMV games. Vinny and Callum especially are just got great chemistry. Vinny carries the whole game in many ways, and he needed to. But I would also say, if you can put up with not being able to skip the cutscenes, Late Shift is a really good, interesting place to be, because they've never really done anything like it since then. But I mean, obviously, I think probably can recommend a few other ones on that one. Pete, go for it.
Yeah, same as you, really, AJ. Obviously, Complex is a great place to start. Late Shift was really good, and again, 5 or even 10 dates. 5 dates is not what you think it is. It will probably be completely different to what you think you're going into. Just because it's got dates in the title doesn't mean you literally trying to. I'm sure you see all the adverts. Oh, look at this sim dating game. It is not that. As I said before, it's more like a puzzle game trying to get to the end. And unravel this person's personality into getting the good endings. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, some good recommendations there. Also, as we said, apart from maybe 1 or 2 of the games, I see Black Clouds notwithstanding, they're all highly enjoyable games that are well worth checking out. And long may it continue. Here's hoping the Isle Tide Hotel, and we eventually see the Death Trap Dungeon. I knew I'd say it at some point. I kept reading it as Dungeon Dragons. It's not Dungeon Dragons. Hopefully we see that at some point in the very near future as well. And then many more beyond. But I suppose that'll do us for now. Thank you very much for listening / watching. If you've made it this far, you're a fucking hero. You can find me on Xbox Live or Twitter or wherever you like. Enox and AJ, do you want to shout yourself out, or have you got anywhere that anyone can find you, or anywhere you want to pimp you'd like to share with people?
I write for Xbox Tavern.
It's a good website.
I generally avoid anyone following me anywhere other than Xbox Tavern. I left Twitter, left Facebook, and everywhere else. So yeah, if you think
that
any of
sounds
my opinions are terrible, definitely put a comment in Xbox Tavern so that Jamie can delete it.
yeah. Put preferably with lots of spelling mistakes, no grammar, and maybe a few caps as well, if you can. That'd be lovely.
Perfect.
So I can get a good luck or two. And if you want to leave a comment on any of the Xbox Taverns, so feel free. Go over and read it. Don't even read it. Just click on it. Just click it. It's fine. But especially Pete.
Yeah, so my handle on X is Peter Kaninch. Again on Xbox Live, you can find me on just Kaninch, spelled Kuninch. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us watching. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Pete. And maybe we'll do it again sometime when we've played some of the missing gaps we've had.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.